Hey, Trails Collective world, Ian here, bringing you the Trails Collective live episode for February 27th, 2023. Sorry for a slight delay there. Pretty much each week, unless I'm on the road, I'll bring you live from the Finger Lakes Running Company or the shop. Got there and realized the power cord wasn't there. So tonight's episode will be streaming live from my bedroom. So that's how we're rolling. This typically each week I'll try to bring you some voices and stories from the trail running world and focused predominantly in the Northeast. As I said before, I feel like sometimes the Northeast gets a little bit of shade in the larger media space where there's some pretty awesome events and individuals and entities that comprise a pretty wonderful community. And so it's been the hope to bring some of those voices and entities together. So that's what we've tried to do. During COVID, we spun a little bit more into the FKT scene where events weren't going. I brought you some of our route sessions to start the year last year. Right now, life is just busy. I was on the road for a couple days. I coach as well. It's one of my hats I did think of college, coach the women's, help coach the distance women's distance program up there. We had a conference meet this past weekend. So just getting back, juggling 3 kids, the shop. And so it goes for most of us, and including our guests tonight. I know they wear multiple hats and are typically all over the place in some cases. I appreciate all of your time. If you're joining us here live, if you're joining the episode after the fact, whether on YouTube or as a podcast, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for any of you who share the episodes in your own communities or support the Trails Collective in some way. I really appreciate it. This past week or the past couple weeks, one of the events that isn't in the trail space is one that's caught my attention and inspiration for the past few years. It was actually Michael Wardian, one of our guests, I think, that first put it on my radar in 2017, and I'll mention that here in the intro. But in this case, it's the World Marathon Challenge. 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents in 7 days. It just seems like this just kind of like dreamy epic of an adventure. This week, I didn't get a chance to really dive into FKTs and some of the other results that were out there in the trail space or events that are coming up. But hopefully we can, bring some cool stories from what was a pretty amazing adventure. So I am going to, and if you're tuning in live, particularly on the Trails Collective's YouTube page, feel free to drop any comments into the box for any of the guests. And even if you're listening to it not live, you can still drop them in there, and occasionally we'll get them after the fact. All right, so I am going to weave in our guests for tonight. And what I'm going to try to do here is we will dig into the World Marathon Challenge here with Michael and Deidre and David. And we'll talk about that for, maybe 45 minutes or so. And then I may hang on to Kilgore. He's got a lot going in the trail space as well with Kilgore Racing and the running community. And maybe we'll chat on that for a little bit before closing out the episode. Let me introduce, for those of you not already familiar with some of the individuals on. Michael Wardian is coming to us from Arlington, Virginia. He's consistently demonstrated the ability to run repeated hard marathons in consistently fast fashion. In 2022, he ran coast to coast over 3,200 miles in 59 days, averaging 52 miles per day. He once held the world record for pushing a jog stroller in a marathon, the record for a 200-meter indoor track marathon, as well as a treadmill marathon. So I think, I'm going to say he's actually more the marathon man here, if we're allowed to infringe on maybe a trademark name there. And he's works, I don't know whether it's by day or by night, as an international shipbroker. He's run 168 official road marathon races, at least according to one site I was checking out, a PR of 2 hours, 17 minutes, as well as having 137 races and 85 trophies under his ultra sign up profile, including not necessarily flat road marathons, such as Hard Rock. So Michael, thanks for being on.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I was on with
Yeah,
Gene Dykes, and he said I have no DNFs either, which is not true. So maybe not all the facts are true, but hopefully some of them are.
yeah. I'm assuming nobody's checking those facts. It just, however, whatever number you put on it, it's quite a few. And maybe they're just tossing out the DNFs. And at some point, hopefully you'll be as fast as Gene Dykes. You'll get there in your
Dude, he's
your
awesome. Yeah, man. It was a really fun conversation. Like, he's so competitive. It was really, really good time to talk to him. He was still mad that when we raced head to head, he was in the bathroom, so he didn't have a fair shake to beat me.
That's fair. Maybe when he turns 90, you'll have a second opportunity. And I don't know I don't remember what his age grade times would be in terms of you kind of, what worth you put into that. And I don't know.
That's what we were going to do. We were both in the same half marathon, and he was saying he was going to age grade it. So yeah, I mean, straight up, I think I got a few years on him. But I think age graded, he would be pretty strong. Hard to beat, I think.
If anybody's listening live out there, if you want something to do for me in the moment, I think, what is he 256 was his record a couple of years ago or something like that.
It's got to be up there. Yeah. And he probably ran a 100-miler like the week before. So like,
or maybe even
he's definitely a man after my own heart. Oh yeah. He was throwing a little shame my way, saying I haven't done any 200-milers yet. So
that's good.
I guess I got to step up my game.
In some ways, yeah, you do. But he's also all right. We could go on a whole Gene. If you, I don't know, I'll just weave you in. Maybe I'll bring you and Michael in to hash things out. It'd be great to have you back on, Gene. So if anybody's listening live, look up Gene Dykes PR, what year he said it, and what the age grade equivalent would be for a marathon, and let us know what that would be. And you can drop it into the YouTube comment thread. Deidre Keane, looking at coming to us from. I think it's Riverdale. Are you in the Bronx, Deirdre?
Yes, I am, Ian. Born and raised Bronx girl.
Right on. When I first, I think I was driving while looking up results, and then while I was looking at the results, also texting Kilgore to see whether he could, whether he was in contact with you to see whether you'd be interested in joining. And so I didn't get a chance to see where you're from. So I'm stoked that it just happens that you are also from New York, since we make it a Beast Coast episode. You could have been coming in from someplace where your marathon PR, which I'll mention here in a second, came from, like Dallas, but no, you're from New York. And that was that could just be on my end, and again, I'm working now on home internet, so but that was a little staticky or broken up. I couldn't hear your response there, your comment. So those listening, let me know too if this audio is crap. I'll have to figure that out, because again, I'm trying to make do here with what I'm working on. So, but Deirdre coming in with us, at least when I looked at the site, 36 official marathon finishes under her belt. Maybe a handful of ultras in the mix as well. PR of 3:08 coming to us from Dallas. And for the marathon challenge, she traded the continental wins, but came down with best average combined time of 3:49. And as we mentioned, is from the Bronx. And you're a nurse practitioner who also is just working on her finished MBA program.
I just finished my job as a nurse practitioner this last week, and I'm starting healthcare consulting next week at McKinsey. So it's been a big start to the year.
Yeah, to say the least. I guess that was good, maybe good timing there as well in terms of throwing this adventure in as in the transition window.
Absolutely. I knew I had to maintain my current job in case I required health insurance. So did not want to be between jobs in case that came to be a problem.
That's fair. If you got eaten by an a Yeti in Antarctica on day one, health insurance would have been applicable. All right. David Kilgore, the men's win with a combined average of 2:56, which, if memory is serving, is 9 minutes slower than Wardian's combined time in both of his wins. So, dude, that's Well, we'll blame it on Antarctica. All right, maybe we'll talk about the conditions there. And all right, Gene Dykes, Nicholas, thanks for weighing in there with a comment. Gene was a 254.23 at age 70 years old. All right, so now look at the age graded standards, Nicholas, and tell us what that 254 would be for an age grade. Kilgore coming, if that's for whatever accuracy of this site was, coming to us with 24 official road marathons with a PR of 227. Is that the road marathon PR? Also 10 minutes slower than Wardian's, but we'll take you, I guess. I also haven't seen your beard as capable of Wardian's yet, but it's still in pretty good fashion. In addition to 51 ultra sign up trail ultra finishes, including 27 trophies, I do believe your ratio of wins to ultra sign up finishes is better than Wardian's. So I think that you're taking that category. Living in New York City when you're not globetrotting, it seems to be you are all over the place these days. He covers marketing and team management for On Running. He has a budding event company, Kilgore Racing, now into, I believe, your second year, right? That's last year's first official?
Yes, sir. Year number 2.
And is a member of the Cinematographers Guild. You still doing that by trade?
Dude, yeah. Every now and then, it's hardly ever now, but every now and then, if I have a day and it completely aligns, I jump in for a day of day playing every now and then. But yeah, it's a fun thing to do.
Cool. And you're originally from Florida, but you've been kind of New York City based on and off for a bit now.
Yeah, man. So I've been up here now for about 7, 8 years.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some, and hopefully this can just be kind of fun general discussion. If any of you have had some pretty just cool, fun experiences or cool stories that you want to mention from the World Marathon Challenge, just feel free to just skip anything that I bring up. You can just pretend like I just didn't even answer a question, and you can just be like, and just kind of move on to something you'd rather talk about rather than that topic. And feel free to dig into relating to any of your co-finishers here as well. And again, if any of you are listening live, feel free to drop some questions or comments in there if you want us to go in a certain direction, and we'll try to head there. Nicholas, thanks for weighing in. Age graded 209. Ooh, Wardian's not touching that. You're going to have to, well,
dude, when I'm 70, I will crush that.
You may crush that when you're 70. Yeah, you do have the longevity. All right. So, Wardian, for me, you were the first to put the event on my radar in 2017. I think at the time I wasn't aware it was an official event production. I think you and I had connected a little bit. I think I'd reached out to you early on, seeing if you'd be interested in getting into the Cayuga Trails mix. So I think we already had an open thread there. And I thought, just knowing your history and the fact that you like to just kind of do some what seemed just like wacky stuff, that this was just something you were just kind of pulling off or coming up with on your own. I didn't realize that it started as an official thing in 2015 and was like a formal event production. But with you having a couple under your belt, can you lay out for those maybe not necessarily familiar what the challenge is all about and what it consists of?
Yeah, I can definitely do that, and David and Deidre can correct me when I astray off the right answer. But the way I understand it is you get 7 days, so I think it's 168 hours to do 7 marathons on all 7 continents. When I did it the first time, we started, everyone kind of gathers at whatever, not Antarctica point, but close to Antarctica. So the first time I did it was in Punta Arenas. The second time I did it was kind of where David and Deidre started, which was Cape Town, which is definitely a lot cooler than Punta Arenas. So like it's a much nicer place to hang out for a couple days. There's a lot more to Cape Town, and you can go up on Table Mountain and get a good view of the area and good food and all that kind of stuff. You fly over to Antarctica, you look for a weather window. So it's like, it's going to start February, I don't know, 2nd or something. And they look and see if the weather's good, fly over, you run the race as fast as you can, get back on the airplane and fly back to Cape Town. And then from Cape Town, I think it's kind of similar. I think their route was a little different. We went Cape Town, you run another marathon, and it's actually pretty tricky. And I think David and Deidre handled this really well, because you go from running in like -30, -40 degree temperature to the next day running in like 90-degree heat. And you're like 12 hours later, you got to like make that switch, and your body's like jacked up from the travel. And it's also the second day. And so like, I was really impressed with how they did with that. And then you have a big long haul flight to Perth. You get out of the plane there, and it looked like the same course that I ran. It's just like this really sweet running club in Perth puts it on. They have like a barbecue and stuff, and you just run up and down on a bike trail. From there, you fly to Dubai. You get smacked with the heat again, but it looked like you guys ran at night, which was nicer than when we got there. We got a little delayed at the airport, and so started at like 7 or 8 in the morning, which made for a really crappy marathon. And then from there, we flew to Madrid and ran on a racetrack, like a F1 track, which was really hilly. And then from there, we flew to Chile. And then from Chile, we finished in Miami. So that was kind of the second route I did. The first time it was Punta Arenas, Antarctica, Punta Arenas, Miami, Madrid, Morocco, Dubai, and then we finished in Sydney the first time. So the route changes a little bit depending on, you know, which places are easier and like how Richard feels, really. Like Richard's like the master puppeteer, and so like whatever he decide kind of goes, and you just kind of roll with it, and they just make it happen. And it's not what's you think like, oh, you're gonna have this like really world traveling experience, and you really do. You get to see a lot of things, but most of the time you're either running, sleeping, or eating, and you're just kind of going through airports and customs, and it's like a mobile stage race, and you just have to get prepared to run the next day. And what's cool is you get to see everybody like really pushing themselves. Like that was my favorite experience, is like, I mean, David and Deidre are at the front end, but like the people at the back end, they're the ones who are doing so much work. Cause you know, we're done in 2.5, 3, maybe 4 hours. They're out there like 7 hours, like barely making the cutoff. I think like this time it looked like there was one guy that was like consistently doing, like, he was an older guy too, like not as fast as Gene, but like he was a badass. Like he was out there 6, 7, 8 hours each time. So like that's a lot of time to be running, and then, you know, trying to recover. And, you know, that means David's getting 5 or 6 hours more recovery time than the next guy, you know? So, yeah. And it was cool to see. And like, it was awesome to see like David get faster each race. Like it was cool. Like I was like, oh man, he's going to get my record. Like for sure. Like he looked really strong. And I feel like you kind of get in the rhythm and you figure it out a little bit. But yeah, it's just, you know, one bad slip up. Like you were talking about stories, like the first time I did it, I tried to lose my passport with one race to go. So like I had to like run through the airport, like OJ or like whoever that, like, you know, old football player was that was like running through the stadium to go back to like pick up stuff. And I'm sure like these guys had like stories like that, you know, someone lost their bag or didn't get their food, or they got something confiscated. And it's like all those little things, like one little mistake and, you know, you're out of the race. We lost you, Ian.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're muted.
Devang, thanks for weighing in there with a comment. We'll definitely plug that in. Just because you, and some of the things I kind of had for talking points, maybe we'll skip to one of them because you just mentioned it. And this is something that you can each weigh in on. Michael, is one of the things is it's like this epic idea, and it is I'm going to switch rooms to be closer to my router here. So the you're hitting all of these continents, but it's in this like pressed fashion, and you're like kind of skipping through these like continents or countries or whatever. So maybe each of you, even if we end up skipping around a little bit here in terms of the order of the experience, maybe just kind of
like a Blair Witch
weigh in
Project
on that, like kind of you have this vision of going to these places, but you end up getting just like this skim coat. And I mean, was that still okay? Do you feel like you got to experience you got to experience Brazil, you got to experience still the culture there? Or was it really like, I don't know, man, I saw a out and back course for like 5 miles, and then I was back on a plane, and like that was my experience.
Dude, none of the courses are 5 miles. They're like 2 miles.
All right, well, even better then.
Yeah, it's just like 100 out and backs. So it's basically like, yeah, you don't really see anything when you're running. Like sometimes in Cape Town, I'm not sure how far they went this time, but you get to see a little of the town. But most of the time you're running in a really restricted area and you're just doing out and backs. And it's just to make the distance. And it's so, I mean, it makes sense because they're a small team, and like they basically set an aid station up at one end, an aid station up at the other end, and you just run back and forth between them. And it works out great. You loop around, Paul, like Richard's brother, and he counts the laps, and then you give him a high five, and then you go back and do it again, and you high five everyone else. So I love that aspect of it because you get to see everybody struggling. You get to cheer for everybody. You get the chance to be a part of it, like if it was a longer route, like no one would see David or Deidre, they would just be gone. And then they'd be like, oh, hey, what's up at the finish line, So like the chance to really bond with everybody while you're out there is great. I like that part of it.
Oh, Ian,
you're muted again.
I'm just so used to having a headset on me every time. All right, I'll get this. Rookie. All right, so for you guys, for Deidre and David, and you can circle back to it too, but this being your first time through, do you feel like you had at least the opportunity to experience some of the places and cultures, or was it just literally like off the plane, seeing a 2-mile course, and I'm back on a plane?
I wouldn't say we got to experience too much of the culture, but we did get to meet a lot of cool people. Typically at each location, we partnered with a running club or a triathlon club. So we got to talk to members who were part of those clubs. And I know for Cape Town, I don't know if it's the same for you, Mike, every leader had their own cyclist. So it was just great talking to my guy who was from Cape Town for the 3+ hours about his life, what some of his athletic goals are. And as for views, like Mike is spot on. It was a lot of out and backs, a lot of loops. Madrid was 32 loops. But a lot of the places you still got great views, like Dubai, we saw the skyline, that's Burj Khalifa. Perth, you got to see the skyline light up at night. And then in Cape Town, we got, I think it's called Lion's Head Mountain. And Antarctica is obviously Antarctica. So we saw what was there. So not necessarily experiencing the culture, but you still got some good components of meeting people and some nice views for our out and backs.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with both what Deidre and Mike are saying that, I mean, I do think we got like a little flavor of culture in each spot. But I think mainly it was kind of really enjoying like the ambiance and the vibe of all the other competitors in the race. And then also got like a flash of like, especially with ours, I don't know if it's the same with Mike, but we got like, I think in Madrid as well, some of like the local run club people came out to like do a couple laps and like cheer on. Like you said, in Cape Town, had some bikers, which was like super exciting. And I think the local news like came by too. It was like running with some people, which was like fun and exciting. But then I think lucky enough too, like Mike said, we were done a little bit earlier. So a few times I feel like there was like, like a splash of culture. Like I went with a few of the other competitors. Like we were in this like little like cobble village in Madrid, and we had like some dinner afterwards, and it felt like Europe. When we were in Dubai, they were like everybody was in like their traditional dress, even like the young kids, and there was like the prayer music during sunset over like the skyline of like the Burj Khalifa. Antarctica was like the weather was like insanely gnarly, so I feel like it was like a true Antarctic experience. So I feel like each spot had a nice little flavor where it kind of like felt like you fell asleep in your friend's car on the way to like a new route, and then you like woke up and you're like, wow, I'm in a new culture, even though we were like kind of like in our own separate little area of doing like a bunch of these laps together.
So I mean, I guess so that makes for kind of like a mixed experience. I mean, it's a big price tag, right? I mean, it's like I think I just looked it up, and maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not. I don't really know how it goes, but like a $42,000 price tag, which, I mean, there's a lot of logistics. I mean, that plane in and out of Antarctica and getting on that, and the amount of probably medical and lodging and all that really like adds up. But it seems like for like half that, you could have like, I don't know, hopped on a regular flight and spent a few days in like each of these places and really immerse. So is it, I mean, for each of you, it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, but it was still a pretty cool epic experience. I mean, would there be any, like, I don't know, maybe I do that again, or maybe next time, I don't know, like I want to dig into Dubai, or I maybe don't want to be in that weather in Antarctica for maybe like a week or whatever. But I mean, there could have been a different experience of those places for the amount of logistic and the amount of cost.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it adds a layer, just like of excitement to it all, to do this like extreme challenge while also like visiting all these places, and also it's I feel like really incredibly epic to be able to kind of like travel around the world with a set group of people taking on this challenge together. So I feel like it's kind of depending on like what your flavor is. If you want to like go somewhere and like, I would say, travel and explore that certain area a bit deeper, then yeah, probably go that route. But I feel like this was almost like marathoning like airplane camp with a bunch of adults, and you like take this on with wanting to experience some of the culture, which I think we got like a little taste of, but also I feel like the main thing is like going after this challenge and kind of like getting to that finish line with this group of people. And I think that's what's so exciting about it all.
Yeah, and I would also chime in, like it actually, like, I thought the same thing. I was like, dude, that's crazy money. But then if you just try to go to Antarctica by yourself, like it's like $25,000 or more. So like it's not that crazy, and that's for one flight to Antarctica, and maybe and you're not gonna be able to do 7 marathons in 7 days. You know what I mean? So like that was the draw to me. I actually heard about it from Richard when I was doing the North Pole Marathon. So like I was already in an extreme place, and then he told me about this thing, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then he told me how much it costs, and I was like, okay, I'll do that like 4 years later when I figure out how to pay for it, right? So like I think the best part about it is it's like a stage race that moves around the world, and you get to like hang out with these cool people and watch them just become something that they're not sure that they can be. Like that's the coolest part to me, is like to watch them overcome their fears and challenge themselves in a way that most of them have never done before. Like a lot of these people, like Deidre and David, are like at the very sharp end, but most of the people are just regular people that are trying to like have a really unique, empowering experience. And like getting to see them do that and break through is just super cool.
And I think being not professional or elite on any level, I can speak to that feeling. For me, it was just, can I do this? Is this physically possible? And being surrounded with this group of people, I think we pushed ourselves and each other to the best we could possibly perform. So I don't know if you'd be able to do that on your own. I definitely would have hit my times, and I don't think I would have had the same fun experience. Half of it's the relationships you make with these people. Like they're so like-minded that they want to challenge themselves, push their bodies as far as they think they can go, and also are quite oddly like very laid back. When you sign up for this, you realize that everything else is out of your control besides your attempt at running 26.2 miles each day.
And so there, and Deidre, I was able to just scan a couple of your more recent like Facebook posts, just as it's nice to see when you guys just post on the event, and just to you had a couple posts just relaying kind of the magnitude of the build up for you and the amount of people that supported you, and so for as much of an epic experience this is, and how the commitment that it takes in terms of resources and time, and to kind of honor it and to be prepped. I mean, somebody like Wardian may eat kind of 7 marathons for breakfast, like on a daily basis or whatever. Kilgore, like, you're quick and you've done quite a bit of ultras, but I don't know about like 7 marathons in 7 days and like all under 3 hours. And then for Deidre, in terms of just the commitment and the build up for you, kind of, I think it was in the context of running 10 miles to work, 10 miles back from work, putting in 20 miles days to get prep for this. And given your background of maybe a marathon a month for like a few months straight, I mean, this was still like a huge buildup. Can you kind of talk a bit about some of the differences there, like whether it would have required something different for you, Michael, outside of what you already do? And then Deidre, for you, just kind of the commitment it took to feel like you were ready to kind of bite this off.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Definitely, it's a lot to juggle, and that's what I tell people now when they ask me about it. With a full-time job, I work 12-hour shifts in the hospital, 3 to 4 days a week, and in addition to that, I was getting my MBA. So I had to get very clever where I could squeeze the miles in. I would try to make running part of my commute. But when you're working, school, and running, you're just so much prone to injury. I'd never been injured until last November during the New York City Marathon. I pulled my hamstring, and then as a result, got runner's knee, and now more recently, it's been my hip. It's a lot to juggle at once, and you have to really know that you want it. There's a lot of sacrifices that you need to make, like your personal life, say goodbye to your friendships for a year or two, or try to squeeze them in whenever possible. It's just not as straightforward when you have a work schedule and other commitments outside of this. Like, I don't know how the people on the trip who are parents did this, because a lot of people have very high stress jobs and they're parents to multiple children. I can imagine they have great family support, but it's just a very time consuming commitment to prepare for.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of those same issues with, working a full-time job and all that, but I did the same thing. I would make it part of my commute, and then I just, prepared by running a lot of marathons. Like, that's what I did. The year before I did it in 2017, I ran all the world marathon majors. And in between those, I was doing like 50Ks, 100Ks, and I race like up to 50 times a year, a lot of times. Last year when I ran across the country, I did not, but most years I'm running like 40 to 50 times during the course of the year. So just using those to get ready, and then trying to be fast and just be as prepared as possible. And then I have experience with stage racing. So like making sure that how to recover between them is really the key to being able to do a good time, which I was really impressed. Like, David did such a good job of like getting ready and just getting out there and cracking after it, one after the other.
And David, how about for you? I mean, was it, do you feel like it was something that you have the baseline fitness and just the kind of mental and emotional flexibility to just kind of pull off or kind of wing it? I mean, you're a pretty exceptional athlete. Have been since you've been on my radar since the, I think the first gash photo at Manitou's or whatever. I mean, you're quick and you got the wheels and you're tough. And did you have to do anything really kind of exceptional, or do you just like, I don't know, I'm just going to take this on and we're just going to do it?
Oh, yeah, man, for sure. And yeah, Mike, much appreciated, man. And definitely shout out to Mike as well. He was open the whole time. I feel like me going into this to be a line of contact and to give a ton of advice. So it was really awesome for him to do that as well. And kind of the same as you, Ian. The first time I really saw this, I think, was in 2017 or 2019 when you first did it, Mike, or maybe it was the second time. And yeah, just like really fired me up to try to get to this event one day. But yeah, Ian, kind of, I would say a mixture. I feel like most of my training is kind of like borderline like marathon training, which I do almost like consistently all year round. And then kind of depending on what races I'm doing or what races are coming up, because I feel like I do like a wide range of eclectic of races throughout the year. I kind of like taper down a few weeks heading into it. But with this one, it was something that I really wanted to do because it was a new challenge on the docket. And So I usually kind of go into a lot of these races with not a ton of expectation. Of course, I want to do well, but going in to be like, hey, I'm going to be really flexible because this is a kind of a new uncharted territory. Like I've done a few stage races over the years, but they mostly been like 3 or 4 days, nothing 7 days with this much travel. So just kind of really had, I would say, like a strong baseline of fitness. But then also was just coming into it being like, hey, I'm going to be super flexible on how this goes and kind of just go with the flow and see where I end up.
And you mentioned, Deidre, you mentioned in terms of your build up in training, and was just the amount of just other stressors in life, the cumulative effect and the kind of injury potential and not being injured prior. Michael, you commented on just the necessity of having to have like the recovery dialed in. Can you each talk about kind of, I guess, managing? I mean, because I can only imagine the exhaustion on 3 fronts. You have just the physical exhaustion of the 7 in a row, especially when you're doing it at high ends for each of you for the wins. You've got the mental toll of being in a whole different space and prep, or just thinking about having to do it the next day, and just the emotional toll in there as well. I mean, is there, Michael, I think you're probably as seasoned as anybody at this point, but kind of anything that seemed to either work well in terms of the prep phase, or that you found yourself drawing on in terms of, I guess, just damage control, I think, during the event, and things that have really become critical for just mitigating that breakdown and kind of getting up for the next day?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and you guys can probably talk to this too, Deidre and David, like after the first day, you kind of know if you're going to win or not. I mean, like David, I'm pretty sure like you knew after the first day, like no one's going to beat you. So like, then the matter is like, you just have to get yourself fired up. Right. So like on my first trip, like I would like Ryan Hall was part of that first group. And I was like, dude hasn't run in like a year, but like he can still whoop my butt, you know? So like we went out and we were like, yeah, let's run together. And then like 400 meters in, I was like 30 seconds ahead of him. And I was like, okay, I'm going to win. But like, you still have to like run the race. Like, you know, the number 1 seed probably going to win in the NCAA tournament, but you can still lose to the 16 seed if you're stupid. So like, I, you know, went out and I just made sure I just do the same stuff I always do. You know, I take my goos every 4 miles. I, you know, make sure I put my lube on, and, you know, you just set yourself up for success. And I think David and Deidre probably did the same thing. You know, it's like, all right, I'm not going to eat the crazy, you know, falafel wrap in Dubai. I'm going to, you know, have some rice and like be disciplined. And like, I want the stupid Dubai hummus that's supposedly the best in the world, but I'm not going to do that because I want to win the race. And so like, you have to be super disciplined. You have to do the right things, and then you put yourself in a good position to win. And so that's what you got to do when you're racing. Like you put yourself in the best possible position, and then you execute. And so that's what I tried to do. And, you know, I knew that I was trying to set like the fastest time, and that's what I tried to do both times. And I'm sure that's what these guys were trying. I mean, Dave was, I hope, trying to beat my record. Like we had talked about it. I mean, I think that, you know, it became super tough after the first day when he got crap weather in Antarctica. That's just like unlucky. Like if he would have got better weather, he probably would have had it because he ran really well. But that's just, you know, part of the deal, you know, it's just unfortunate. But yeah, I just, you know, you just want to show up, and then it's not hard to follow. Like that's the nice thing about it being like a 2-mile loop. Like there's no chance to get lost after you've run it like 3 times. Like you're not going to get off course. You just, it's like running on the track. Like, you know what your splits are going to be between the 2 markers after you've done it 3 times. You're like, okay, I should be 4 minutes, or I should be 10 minutes or whatever. And then you just shut your mind down and you just do what you need to do. And you just turn yourself into a robot for the next however long it is, and then you get done with that, and then you start the recovery process, and you do that 6 times, 7 times, and then you're done. But like, you can't mess up. You can't forget to tape your feet. You can't forget to put your lube on. You can't forget to eat your goose. You can't forget to do the things that you need to do. In David's case, he's got to drink some Red Bulls. You got to do the stuff. But then, if you do that, you should be fine.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Mike says. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I think each day, like once you finish, you can kind of gauge it out, like especially after the first one, to be like, hey, like clearly there might be like some discrepancy of like being out front or not. But I think it's still in the back of your head. You're like, hey, like I'm here to show up each day and perform. So I have to do the things that I usually do to get back to the starting line and feel good and get to that finish line. Because no matter what, like, yeah, you're still running a marathon, or you're still running, pretty dang far. And if you're not doing some of those things, you just have like the opportunity to fail and to fall, or to whatever, not run as up to par as you want to. So I think each day after everything, of just kind of like going back into the set of things, especially like refueling and making sure to get the right foods at the airports and things along those lines to set up for the next day. But I think it was like all a process. Yeah. Like each day, I think there's like a little window, like I was saying earlier, to kind of be like, okay, like just finish the race. There's like a little bit of time to relax. But then after that, it was just like game on again, getting back onto the airplane, getting stuff set up, and then kind of cruising with everybody else.
I wish I was as sensible as you two. I think I went in definitely not ever thinking I would win it. I was very worried about finishing it. When I won Antarctica, I thought it was an absolute fluke. And then the next day in Cape Town, when I started running and the cyclist came up to me, I'd never been a lead runner before. I didn't know who this person was, and it took me a minute to connect the dots. But as the week went on, for me, because I'm not as wonderful as these runners are, I was never in the bag. I was never sure if I would win towards the end. So I had to kind of keep my mindset like, Deidre, if you lose the W, like this is not why you came here for. You came to partake in this. You came to challenge yourself to be the best you can be. So when another female started like absolutely crushing it day 4 on, I was like, just let her have it. It's do the best you can, but you're only really competing against yourself. That was my mindset. And so I chugged a Guinness after every marathon, trying not to take myself too seriously. But I also do agree there's a certain level of prep. Like, yes, I'll drink my Guinness, but I am 100% gliding before I go out there. My compression socks are on. I have my goose ready. Like, I want to set myself up for success.
So touched on a little bit of gear there with just the compression socks. And we talked about nutrition with your combined time of 3:49, Michael and David, what were you wearing out there for Deidre? Were you switching shoes out, or what was your go-to race day shoe?
I had Saucony winter trail shoes for Antarctica, and then all the other days I had my same pair of Vaporflies. I brought a third pair of shoes thinking that my feet were going to swell, that I would have to upgrade my size, but that never became an issue. So it's just consistently between those 2 pairs.
So do you think Michael and David, with her combined time of 3:49, would she have potentially gone under 3:30 as a combined time? And if so, would it have been wearing a pair of Hokas or a pair of Ons?
Dude, definitely Ons. I'm sorry, Mike.
Well, I mean, we're both paid to say whatever we're gonna say, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think that she could have maybe had a better selection on the trail shoes for sure with Hoka, and then we definitely have some nice carbon that could have helped those times, but I think she made the choice that's best for her. I think everyone has the right shoe. There's a lot of good brands out there. So maybe next time she can try some Hoka.
Deidre,
Tough
can now
crowd.
that was a very tactical answer there, but Deidre, have you kind of written up maybe an invoice and kind of mailed it to Nike headquarters at this point?
I should look into that. I would appreciate some tips from the pros after this is over.
From what I've heard, you'll have better luck with On or Hoka.
Yeah. Dude, just drop them a line, just send them a rogue invoice. Be like, you're welcome.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm trying to actually go down the Guinness Avenue.
Oh, that's not a bad strategy.
Yeah, it's not a bad avenue to go down.
You. It's a great slogan.
So you mentioned in Dubai, the tossed out the waffle or the hummus or whatever. Was there any kind of cool options on course, or were you pretty much kind of self-supplying and you would have just had access to, I don't know, hitting a restaurant or something like that afterward that would have been in that place?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
each
times
race
it's
usually
nice.
had.
Oh, go ahead.
Each race course usually had select snacks, but for the most part, I think most people were bringing out a lot of the stuff that they had on hand, just so you could have your own like curated gels and things like that. But every now and then, it's like fun to grab a handful of gummy worms. Why not?
Yeah. Or I don't know if they did it when you guys went to Perth, right? You ran with that run club, if they had like the barbecue for you or no?
No, we showed up a bit late, but they barbecued afterwards, like made like bacon, egg, and cheese, like type situation. Yeah.
Those guys are cool. Yeah. So like you do get that. And like the one in Perth, like there was ladies that were at the far end of the course that had like cool signs like kangaroos or like 2K ahead, or like Perth is the sunniest part of Australia or something like that. So it was nice to have like some of the local flavor in the various cities also.
Did you feel cheated if you didn't get to see a kangaroo in Australia? Like, could you ask for some of your money back?
I was actually getting attacked like 13 miles in on one of the courses, and Deidre jumped on its back. It was crazy, dude. You got to see the footage. It's in the bloopers.
I protected you.
Yeah.
So how about Antarctica? So talk a bit about some of the conditions there, and then how was that in terms of, I guess, was it also like a 2 mile out and back like format, or how was gear and how was fueling?
You guys can go.
Yeah, so the course was meant to be out around the airstrip, as it probably was your year, Mike, but there was a storm coming in, so we actually left for Antarctica a day earlier, trying to hit that window before it fully descended. And then when we got there, the conditions were so bad, they didn't want the participants spread out along the course too much. So we did an out and back. It was 1.3 miles out and then back, and did that 10 times. And the wind, like, I personally never experienced anything like it. It was negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chill factor, and going one way felt nice. The wind was at your back, but the way back, you just felt like you were trying to run and not really going anywhere. So like our wheelchair participants were like being pushed off course. It was a really technical course considering the elements.
Yeah. Was it on the runway? So it was like the ice?
Yeah, it was like right up against the flags, like on the ice. The runway was like to the right of us, like going out. We were kind of like in between to the side of the runway.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. At least like maybe like the one time I did it, there was like a dip at the far end of the course, and it was like down, and then you had to go up, and it was like not very big, but it was like maybe 3% grade, and it just sucked in the wind, like you're saying. Like, it was bad.
Dude, I bet it was crazy because like some of the spots too where the wind was like whipping, and like I was blowing the snow, and it was just like pure like blue ice. I mean, it was gorgeous,
Yeah.
like to look at, but yeah, I'm sure
It
like,
was
we're
not
going
fun to
kinda
run
feel
on,
the
dude.
ice.
Yeah, no, you have to run on like the tacky stuff, but then the more people that run on it, the slippier it gets, and like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
it's
and-
just part of the deal. It sucks though sometimes.
oh, for sure, man. Yeah, I think we got gaslit a little bit too. I'm not gonna lie. there was rumors before that, like, we think this is gonna be the best year ever. Like, you're gonna
Yeah.
run like
Oh.
shorts, like all this stuff. And dude, I swear, like everybody gets off the plane like in like substantial winter gear, and I think everyone's like looking at each other, being like, "Oh my god, we have to put on everything we have." And I'm like, yes,
Yes.
this is horrible. Like, this is so bad, dude. I brought like I was wearing 2 pair of tights at the time. And I brought like some like boutique pants that I was gonna wear afterwards, like dress pants that are kind of like Carhartt material that I like had to wear for like 18 miles. I was like, dude, there's no way I'm like freezing out here.
Yeah, dude. Well, the one year it was actually the second time I did it, it was so hot I took my pants off at like 6 miles because it was colder in DC than it was in Antarctica, which sounds like awesome, but then it was like melty snow. So like we were running through like slush.
Wow.
It was super slow. That was like the second time I did it. It was so slow because it was like crap weather, like too hot.
So wild, man.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool though. It's like that was still one of my favorite runs ever. Is like the shafts of like light there are so pretty because there's like nothing to just get in the way, and like and you're at altitude a little bit. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but like you're at like 2,000 or 3,000 feet.
Dude, yeah,
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible overall. And I think everybody, Deidre, like on the plane afterwards, we were like, definitely in the moment, everyone was like a little shook. We're like, we don't know about this. But I think afterwards, we were like, everyone was just like so amped up. We're like, yeah, that was like kind of like a true experience. Like, we can't believe we all just did this. So everyone really, really rallied around it. And I feel like had incredible, like tremendous like spirit afterwards. But I also remember like right before we went out, it was like so funny. One of our other teammates or participants on the crew like went out to the bathroom, like across the thing that was like 0.1 away, and he came back. It was Karan. It was like one of the funniest things. He comes back in right before we leave, and dude, he looked like he went through like the craziest blizzard ever. He's like frozen. Like he's like, oh my god. He's like, I was outside for 0.1, and everyone's like, oh my god, this is gonna be so bad.
Yeah. Well, but as far as like Ian, like as far as like practicality, like how do you like feel for it? It's not as bad as the North Pole because it's not as cold normally. Like it sounds like David and Deidre got a little bit.
Hang on, let's qualify what you're talking about here. Like you just put the bar at the North Pole.
Well, yeah, but the North Pole is like
what kind of context is
very
that?
cold, like super duper cold. Like Antarctica is like there's a big difference between -20 and -40. Like it's like a massive gap. But like you basically keep the gels close to your body or whatever you're fueling with, and that way you can squeeze them into your mouth. But like at the North Pole, you have to wear like a balaclava like the whole time, or else your face gets like ripped up. So then you have to like try to stick it in under the balaclava. And I use like this thing called the Cold Avenger. But like I didn't even need that in Antarctica. I was just running. It looked like you guys were too. Like you didn't need like a balaclava, right? Or did you use one?
I used one for a little bit, but then probably like a couple laps in, I took it down and just like froze. Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah, it was pretty good. But I also have the beard, but I don't know if that matters at all.
No, the beard helps a lot, dude.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, Deidre, did you feel like you were at an evolutionary disadvantage in not having a mustache and beard?
I tried running with a balaclava, but my glasses kept steaming up. So like I prefer to have a cold face. But between the windburn in Antarctica and like the sunburn in Cape Town the next day, there was just no winning.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think I've heard that maybe you had them, but I think the ski goggles are the way to go because they'll vent, whereas the glasses will just fog.
Next time.
Ski goggles still fog, dude. Ski goggles will fog if you have the thing on your mouth or like a buff or something. It'll still fog.
All right,
Or at
scratch
least
that. All
that's
right, that
been
was
my
a
experience.
terrible idea. I don't even know who mentioned that. I won't listen to them again. Yeah. All right, and then so how about like, all right, you're like halfway through and you're like, I kind of need to use the bathroom, but I may actually die. Like if I actually stop and I just need to use the bathroom, or like I saw that guy that you just mentioned ahead, and he just came back from the bathroom. He looked like he was at a war zone. Like, is that a good distraction where you can spend like 3 miles just like thinking about using the bathroom, but not having the courage to?
I can speak to that because I was torn trying to make that same decision. I was like, do I hold it and hope for the best, or do I make because the bathroom wasn't on the course. It was probably like 0.1 miles away. Do I make the trek out to it and like climb the snow to get there? But they had one rule that they really kept reiterating, and it was like no human waste on the island, on the continent. So I was like, whatever waste is brought onto the island is taken back. Like they empty all the toilets back wherever they fly into, whether it's South Africa or a different country. So I didn't want to risk anything. And I'm like, let's not cause any trouble. Make sure to use the bathroom. And it was nice and sheltered for the 2 minutes I was in there. It's hard to leave.
Yeah, it's funny though. Like, it's a styrofoam seat. I don't know if it still is, so that your cheeks don't stick to it. So like,
oh, that's so smart. I was just so panicked. I didn't think it really about anything besides getting in and getting out.
Yeah. So it's not like a plastic or anything. It's usually styrofoam. At least the times I've been. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And then fuel kind of consider
as Deidre or as Mike. So I just like plowed through the whole time. I was like, I just got to get out of this as fast as possible. I didn't stop for food, bathroom. I was like, I got to get back inside.
And then for fueling, any other gear stuff? You just have like an insulated bladder, or were able to just keep it close enough to your body, and it wasn't really a thing?
No, they had like a little aid station you could stop at. I don't know if they had it for these guys, but they had like a little tent you could go in and get some food or water or Coke or something.
For us, because the weather conditions were so bad, the aid station was also a good bit off the course. The best advice I had gotten was from a previous participant who said on the plane, put boiling water into your Camelback, like powdered Gatorade. And then if you keep sucking through the insulated pipe, whatever you call it, they'll stay warm throughout the run. And like that got me through.
Yeah.
It's good. It wasn't like, like kind of what I just said about ski mask. Like this is what somebody just told me. And so I had boiling water in here. And actually, I just took a sip, and actually, my mouth is now synced, and I can't eat anything for next week. That was a great idea. Thanks. That was awesome.
I got a burn on Antarctica. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Or the bladder, it wasn't built to take boiling water, and it actually, I think the rubber just melted. And I'm standing here talking to you, but right now I actually have boiling water that's actually just kind of coming right down my butt, actually, and it feels really awkward. Yeah.
Well, and that's like
a healthcare provider.
That's like one of the tricks too, is like you want to run hard, but not so hard that you start to really sweat. So like, because if you start to really sweat, then that's where you can get like hypothermia and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a tricky little balance between like running hard, but not that hard.
All right. And then you arrived the next day into a blast furnace. Is that kind of how it felt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a warm up for Perth. Perth was definitely the warmest at 95 degrees. I think Cape Town was high 70s, but we started at 10 a.m. So depending what your time was, you were out in the worst of the afternoon.
So to do again, what do you think is a better deal? Mike getting kind of bikini weather to celebrate in Antarctica with Ryan Hall, or you guys getting the kind of wussy nighttime temperatures in Dubai?
That's a good question, man. I mean,
I would rather run in the cold. Like the footing became super bad, but that was in 2019. 2017, we got weather like they did. So we got like really, really bad weather, but it was only for like the last for me, it was like the last hour and a half or something. But then everyone else got slammed pretty bad.
And I think we got like Antarctica weather. Like I
Yeah.
left there saying I ran a marathon on Antarctica, and I will always be able to claim that because I wasn't
Yeah.
running in a t-shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Do you
dude,
think
I'm
that Mike?
definitely more on the warm game as well. I think I'd rather, or different. I'd rather probably run the warmth a little bit than the blistering cold. Like Antarctica was definitely one of my most memorable experience in marathon running, but also I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good there. Like I would go back for like an expedition or something, but I don't know if I'm running a marathon there.
Yeah. I definitely would like to go again. I think we're actually thinking about taking the kids next December. So that'll be their 7th continent. So it'll be cool to get to kind of share that experience with them.
Will you see if they can actually run a marathon while they're there to earn the trip?
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, maybe we could find some way to make that happen. I think Pierce could probably do that. I think Grant would tell me to, go away.
And have you been selling it in terms of like kids? Like we get to go to Antarctica because you probably haven't gotten to use a styrofoam toilet seat before.
That was for sure the big selling for my wife. Like she was all about that. She's definitely very rugged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how about so Devang, if you're still with us, thanks for still being with us. But he had mentioned as we were starting, which one was everyone's favorite race and least favorite out of the 7 marathons?
Ooh.
I would say Cape Town was my least favorite because I just got I don't know why, I got absolutely roasted there. It was probably the biggest struggle marathon for me. And also I probably it wasn't as exciting because we already got to spend some days there. So I was kind of oh, we're here, we're coming back, I guess we live here now. We went on a trip to Antarctica, we're coming back to Cape Town. And then my most favorite, even though it's I don't know if it's lame or not, but I think besides Antarctica, which I feel like is just I don't know, lifetime type of experience, was Florida. I think the energy was just so high there in Miami. Everybody's friends and families flew in, and we ended up showing up late, and it was just packed out, especially when we started. So it was just insanely excited, and also it was just kind of really fun to end there, just being from Florida and have a lot of friends and family come through. So it was awesome.
Do you think that it was actually insanely exciting, or do you think it's because you were consuming so much Red Bull that things were just kind of blurry at that point?
Dude, always. I was at least 45 Red Bulls deep at that point. So
that's good. And then did it make you think that, man, I was born in Florida and I just went to 6 other continents and I just ended in Miami and this was the best marathon, and that was just kind of a waste of time. I could have just stayed in Miami.
100%, man. Yeah, I was I should just went on a week trip down to Miami. What am I doing? No, man. It was just a great way to cap it all in. And I like the course. It was also a little bit shorter of the loops, but it was still short enough. I think, what did we do, 5 loops out there?
Yeah.
That you still got to see everybody, and the vibes were still so high. It was great. And we also had I feel pretty nice weather in Miami as well. I think Dubai and Miami, we got probably the nicest weather of the whole trip, and everywhere else was kind of a little stingy.
Deidre, what about you? Which one did you like?
I really liked Perth. I think going into it, I was petrified because it was 95 degrees. But once the sun set, it went down to 81. It was a short out and back, and it was great to see everyone. I think I prefer the out and backs and the loops because you just get more face time, you get to smile, and you get to wave. And it was just a nice course, great temperature. I really disliked Madrid. And I think it's because it was 32 loops, so much incline. When I looked at my elevation gain on Strava afterwards, it was greater than 1,600 feet. And the surfaces weren't even, so people were falling. It was unusually warm in Madrid for February. It was like in the 60s, David. Like the sun was out. We were expecting weather in the 40s. Like people had gloves going out. And we're like, we need to delayer. Like we are way too overdressed. So that was kind of like my low point, especially with the incline. I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer too, right, man? Here, I mean, I guess it just is what it is. But you go to this amazing location with so much like rich history, and you're like, dude, Madrid sucked, actually.
Yeah, you're like, I hate my life. I think when you hit the wall, it's very hard to talk yourself out of it, right? You're just not enjoying it. And you're trying to reason with yourself and be like, this is so cool. I'm on day 4. I'm in Europe. I'm running in this small, beautiful town outside of Madrid. But there's just some days that running is not working for you and you just need the race to be over.
And when you see a course like Madrid for like 32 loops, Michael, are you like, wow, that's a really great course. It makes me want to do a last person standing event on that course.
Yeah, that's actually massive compared to the one the ones I've done. So yeah, I would definitely take that 32 laps. Yeah, that's easy.
All right, how about for you, Michael, a favorite, and then one that was maybe not your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for me, like having done it a couple of times, like Antarctica is always my favorite, just because I think that it's so unique, and I think these guys have probably echoed that a little bit. But it's like that you shouldn't really be there. It feels so surreal. Like the only reason that you're alive is because there's people there that can help you stay alive. Like it's very it feels very adventurous, and it's super unique, and then I will 100% agree with David. Like I'm Team America, man. Florida was amazing, like to finish in Florida, and both times I ran, I think the fastest I ever ran both times was in Florida. Like I love the community there. People in Florida are awesome. If you're from the US, like a lot of people that are on the race aren't from the US, but if you're from the US, like it's a pretty easy place for people to get to, so they can come and watch you finish. Or the time before, like it was like the 3rd race for me, so like they were there to kind of like pump me up for the rest of the run. And so I think finishing there is awesome, and South Beach at night is just fun.
Great commute home too for us.
Yeah, it's easy for us. Yeah.
You're walking out with everybody. Everyone's already out,
Yeah. Well, what I thought was funny was like David did basically what I did when I did it the first time, was he flew right to like New Zealand afterwards. And I like did the same thing. I went down to Awara right afterwards. My wife's like, oh my God, you and David did the same trip basically. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. But I was happy to see that too.
And then any non-favorites, or was it like they just kind of all blended?
I mean, I got actually some food poisoning when I did it, and so I had to run the race like puking in Chile, and that sucked. Like
You just drink the water?
No, man, I was super careful. It was super annoying. Like, and I'm vegetarian, so I'm very even more limited as to what I eat, and I just got sick. And that's the other thing these guys didn't mention, but the whole time you're like trying not to get sick. Like everybody on the plane's trying not to get sick, because like if one person gets sick, the chances of everyone getting sick are much more exacerbated. So like yeah, I just had a really rough race and just had to keep stopping and like throwing up and just didn't feel good. So like yeah, that was nothing to do with the course or anything like that. It was more to do with just not feeling good.
And so on that note, and then maybe we'll switch it to the opposite here. So talking about that struggle bus, was there a specific point in these 7 days where the struggle bus was most visceral?
For me or everybody?
Any that was like, man, like at this point, like this was just like the low, and then something that kind of pulled you back out, or you whatever, you're just like, this is the low, but I'm just going to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you just kind of move out of it.
Ladies first.
I hit my low in Madrid, and that was day 4, right? No, that was day 5. There we go, day 5. And I was very worried because I'm like, how do I rebound from this? But Richard, the race director, had said from day 1, he was like, you're all more than likely going to hit a low day. That does not mean the rest of the trip is ruined. You will bounce back. So I just hope that was the case. And in Brazil, I kind of got it together and was fine. And similar to what Mike and David said, by the time we got to Miami, it was just so great to be home, to be in your home ground and with your friends and family, that you are able to get a second and third win to keep going.
Oh, yeah. I mean, besides like puking my brains out the one day, like that was for me the worst day. But I was like, I still know I have a good shot. Like, I was like, even if I don't feel good, I'm still gonna be able to run fast. So I was just like, I just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and then it was similar to what these guys had said. You just want that marathon to be over. But luckily, I had a lot of experience. Like I've messed up before and made mistakes that have caused me to throw up and still run a good time in the race. So I knew as long as I keep eating and drinking and like doing whatever I need to do to get through it, that I'll be fine. And hopefully it's not going to last too long. And it was similar to what the advice Richard had given to everybody is like, you'll bounce back. And I knew I probably would, but until you do, you get super nervous because you're like, oh man, if I have this the rest of the time, it's going to really suck. But it was a temporary thing, and I got through it and made it out the other end.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think Richard's advice overall at the beginning, it's just like such a great framework that he lays. He's just like, hey, like basically everything's out of everyone's control. Like, let's go on this like crazy journey together, and yeah, be very flexible, whether it's with like trip timing, weather, like random elements that might come up. It's I think his advice across the board was very spot on, and I think everyone was like rallying around it the whole time. My hardest one probably was Cape Town. Again, I was like so amped up after Antarctica to just like kind of like actually, I would say like, get the gears going and be like, okay, like we can like light this one up, open up the stride a little bit and get going. So I went out, like, I feel like a little bit like sharper the first like 3 or 4 miles. And dude, I was just getting like fried by the sun. I don't know what was going on, but I came through like a loop through the second loop. And I was like, dear God, I was like, I gotta like hold on. I was like, I'm just on a ride right now. I was like, I need to like cool myself down and throw some electrolytes in me and just like kind of like hold on and really like rally myself maybe further on. But that was just not my day. But afterwards too, you could just like see everybody. I think it must be like something with the UV or something, or being so close to Antarctica, because I think there's like more of like a hole in like the ozone or whatever. But everybody like wearing KT tape and stuff were just like burnt to a crisp. Everyone had like the outlines for the rest of the trip from Cape Town. But yeah, we got fried out there. But that was probably my low point, and I just kind of had to, I feel like, settle in and be like, okay, yeah, tomorrow's a new day. We still have 5 to go, and really want to try to rally myself, especially in the heat. Was a little bit intimidating kind of coming into Australia as well, because they were like, oh, it's 95, 96 degrees, which was even hotter than Cape Town. And I was like, yikes. I was like, I just got like burned up to a crisp down there. But yeah.
So could it be accurate that when Deidre passed you on that loop format in Cape Town, that she actually accurately heard you mumbling out loud something to the effect of "Jesus, take the wheel"?
That's spot on. It's verbatim quote.
It's good. All right. And then how about the reverse? Any moments that will just be etched forever in your brain of just a wicked, visceral, like, wow, like I'm at this like different place looking at something very specific that's just like, wow, like life is good. This is an incredible spot to be like in this moment.
I felt that way in Dubai. as the skyline lit up and it got even cooler, the temperature was so nice, as we mentioned. We got so lucky. We were on a rubber track on the boardwalk along the beach that was very forgiving on the knees. I was just like, this is amazing. This is everything I wanted and expected it to be. Enjoying riding out that runner's high.
Yeah, Dubai had to be, it might have been the same for me as well. Like, it was definitely like a very special moment. I feel like just being above, like below the skyline in Dubai. And then even when, yeah, like the prayer music and stuff kind of like going off was like really beautiful and just kind of like really felt like, it was just like, wow, like, I can't believe like this is where we're at right now. I feel like it really like sunk in to like a piece of culture as well, to be like, wow, we're not just like on a beautiful beach boardwalk. We're like in this like culture right now, doing their thing. So I feel like that was a really cool, special moment.
I just sent you a picture, but this moment for me, you're not gonna be able to see it really, but it's in Antarctica. And it's like that moment I was talking about where the sun's like coming through the clouds. And it was like, I just dropped Ryan Hall and I was all by myself. And it looked like I was just running out there in the middle of this ring of mountains. And I was just gliding through the world. And I was like, I can't believe I'm here in this moment right now. And I can't believe I get to do this. And I was just so grateful to be there and excited and like charged up. And I was like, man. And it was also the first time I'd been to Antarctica. So I was like, oh my God, my life dream has just come true. Like, how can this get any better? And then right as I said that, like there was like these 3 shafts of light broke through the clouds and just lit up the area in front of me. And I was like, oh my God, come on. Like, seriously? Like, this is insanity. And I was like, well, you did it, man. It's even better. Like, it's even better than it was. Yeah. So like, for me, that was definitely one of the best moments of my life. And it's like seared in my mind. And I actually just emailed that to you, Ian, so that you have it in case you want to post it or whatever. But like, yeah, that for me was like one of the most incredible moments of my life.
And so I would hope, and I could probably, by the time I could pull it up here and share the screen. By the time I did that, it would probably take like a couple minutes and we just lose a window. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
But so I guess the hope would be that maybe your kids and wife will get to experience kind of a moment like that.
I hope so, man. Yeah, that's what I would be hoping that happens. And also, I wouldn't mind seeing some of the wildlife. Like, we didn't get to see any wildlife when we were in Antarctica, so I'd like to see the penguins and like some of the other stuff that you can see when you're in Antarctica. Like, when we're going to Antarctica, you're not seeing anything except white and mountains, maybe.
So, do you think that because Manitoba is a really expensive, Antarctica is a really expensive place to go? That Richard just thought, well, I mean, it's looking like we'd just be good if we can get him to a temperature of like 25 degrees, which you hit, and that instead maybe we can just go to Utah because they don't really know what they're not paying attention anyway. And we're just going to sit down here and, hey guys, like you're in Antarctica now and we're good.
I think there might be more snow right now in like Salt Lake and those places from the looks of it, from pictures I've seen from friends.
And do you think that it's also possible that after you dropped Ryan Hall in that moment, or in that moment over the next couple miles where he's like, I can't, Wardian's like a 217 guy. Like, I used to be one of the best marathoners on the planet, that maybe I should just get into weightlifting from here.
Dude, he was already into lifting. Like, he was like, he went in after he's so amazing, dude. He went in after every marathon and would like hit like a 2-hour gym session. And in Antarctica, he like went in the camp we were at and was like lifting the milk crates. He was like, grr, grr. Dude, he's so badass. Yeah, I love that dude. It's awesome what he's been able to do to like change the way that he's like applied his amazing physical and mental powers. Like, it's just so cool to see.
He and I was seeing if he potentially would want to come out and be a guest for one of the races that I put on, the Ithaca Half Marathon. And it was a bit after he had retired as well, around that time. And he and I were texting a little bit. And I think it was before there was mention of like him getting into lifting, and he had just commented on this text and he was like starting to get into lifting, and he's like felt better than like he ever like had or in a really long time. But I was still just like, I don't know, you're Ryan Hall. Like, all right, whatever. That's cool that like you're lifting or whatever. And then there's just like this picture that comes up in this like interview, and it's like, wow, like he just totally changed like his body type or shape, and he's just like he's going beast mode. And it was just a really just eye-opening, wow, that's kind of weird, but kind of cool.
Dude, yeah, it's so inspiring, man. Like I think it's so badass.
Anything else that would be fun, or any stories or takeaways that you guys can remember that was just like a really fun or kind of funny experience that would be fun to share from like the 7 days?
I think everyone's sleeping arrangements on the Airbus that we had, it wasn't all first class seats. So we rotated between first class and economy and premium economy. But the first day when we met Richard, he was like, we have all your shirts, we have your bibs, and we have these inflatable mattresses. I was like, is he kidding us? Like, what are we going to do with these inflatable mattresses? But people in economy, they would get the middle aisle because it was a 300-seater Airbus, blow up the air mattresses and put them on the ground between the rows, and that's where they slept.
Wow.
That's
a different plane than we had.
Yeah, it was luxurious, you know.
Like it was an old enough Airbus. Like there was probably, would you say 20 seats, David, in first class?
Yeah, something like that.
Premium economy, you did not want to be there because the seats didn't recline. At least first class, it was lie flat. Like if you weren't business, you wanted to be in economy so you could blow up your air mattress and sleep on the ground.
Yeah, that one night where we slept in premium economy, like in between like those like gaps, it was like as wide as my chest, and like the heater was like pushed up against me. I thought I was gonna have like melt marks through my clothes in the morning.
That flight was the moment I realized how badass and how cool David Kilgore is. He is just there, his blow up mattress. You couldn't even lie flat in premium economy because there were the footrest. He's on his side, and everyone's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm great. Isn't this awesome, guys? Going with the flow.
Dude, throwback lifestyle for me.
Same. Yeah, it's fun to see how like ours were like not quite lie flat, so they were just at like this little awkward angle. So it was very interesting to like try to sleep, but I didn't sleep a lot either time. It's fine.
Yeah, I think one other time when we first all got, I think it was it's when we first got on the chartered plane going from Cape Town to Australia. We all got on or like sitting down. And I think like one person pulled out like a massage gun, and then like another person pulled out a massage gun. And they were like, everybody has a massage gun. And one guy was like holding all of them. And there was like 1,000 hands like around him, like massaging everywhere on his body. It's like so good.
Teamwork.
Is there a photo of that somewhere? That would be a good keeper photo from the experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll have to send that to you.
Nice. And then Wardian, any fun things to kind of close out that off the top of your head that was kind of funny?
I'm trying to think of one thing. Like when we were in Chile, they bought us like 35 pizzas from this place, but they were all just like stacked up as high as you could see them, but no one knew where they were. So like everyone was trying to find these pizzas. So like it was this like roundabout adventure to try to find where the food was. But I feel like sometimes that happened. I don't have anything as good as the massage gun.
Right on. Well, we're pushing into an hour and a half here, and often these episodes will, for better or worse, kind of go Rogan style and push like 2.5, 3 hours. But at the moment, be an hour and a half in the moment, David, I may pivot into just having you on as another guest rather than taking you into like another hour into like endurance territory. So I may wrap then the session there, unless you guys have anything else, or if anybody's still listening out there, if any other closing comments or questions, feel free to plug them. And so what else do you guys have coming up this year? Wardian, I know you have Hard Rock on deck as a kind of focal, at least formal event.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones, and Comrades also. So those will be two of the bigger ones, and then I'm trying to get ready to do the Appalachian Trail next year. So I want to do some recce's on the AT this year, and then get some marathons. And I've got I already knocked off some of my year-long goals. Like I just benched 150, so not quite Ryan Hall territory, but that was really exciting for me. And then I did a 50K row. So also I want to row across the Atlantic. So I'm trying to build up my rowing muscles. And then actually I might be doing something with David. Like I've been talking to Red Bull about doing something for Wings for Life. So, that's May 7th, I think. So it's coming up here pretty soon. So yeah, I've got a kind of a fun idea about doing an FKT for that.
I'm not gonna lie to you, when you just put your arms up a second ago, you can.
Oh, you saw my muscles?
You're actually getting. You are. You have more
little
guns than
muscle,
I remember
dude.
you having. Yeah.
No,
there was
it's nice, man. I sacrificed them all to the running gods last summer, so it's nice to have them back. Like. I lost all my little CrossFit muscles.
There was one of the kind of epic adventurers that I followed for a bit was Joran Kropp. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but he was somebody that one of his adventures, that would be a whole separate tangent, but like he was just like this amazing individual. He had during that, I think the Everest tragedy that was like into thin air. I think it was that he was there at the time as well. And I think, I may be merging trips, but I think he had ridden his bike from, maybe he was like Norwegian or Swedish or something like that. I think he had ridden his bike over there, and then he had summited Everest with like no oxygen. And then he was going to come back down and like ride his bike back to like Norway or something like that. And it was either that trip or another trip where like the claim was it was all self-supported. And it was something like his family joined him for one leg of the train trip somewhere and like gave him some chocolate. And so like, the people like in his country like flagged him as like it wasn't like self-supported because he got like support along the way. And it ended up, I think, again, I may be merging stories, but it ends up in this lawsuit, and he ends up basically like leaving his like country of origin or whatever. And I think he had moved to Seattle, and he was supposed to do this this speaking engagement, I think at like an REI or something like that when I was living there. And I was really excited and had it on my radar. And then unfortunately he died in this random climbing accident where like a carabiner failed and he just like fell to his like death or whatever, this total like random thing. But one of his next adventures that he was going to try to train for was he was going to try to, I don't think it was row, but I think he was going to sail solo across like, I don't know, like some vast body. I think he was going to sail to like Antarctica or something like that. And then he was going to like self-supported missions,
do like the last 40 or something, like where you go to like
and
the
then he was
South
gonna
Pole.
like sail back or whatever. And at the time he had like no sailing experience, and I guess it made for this funny story because he was trying to learn on this like little sunfish or something like that. And like his first couple days out, he like went out and like he didn't know how to sail, and he got like pushed back and like beached on this shore. And it was like, here's this guy, he's got this plan.
That's me rowing. That's me.
Yeah. That's good.
Pretty much, you've just summed up my rowing experience. So,
well,
I'm quite good on the rowing machine, like a little hummingbird. But I actually rowed with some real guys who know how to row, and I was doing like 32 strokes a minute. They're doing like 19 and like whooping my ass. They're like, It's so fun though.
That is, I'm gonna look forward to hearing about that. Kilgore and Deidre, you guys have any other? Kilgore, I know you do. Man, you're all over the place. Deidre, I don't know you well enough to know what adventures you guys each have on deck.
I have Boston coming up in April, and then I'm doing the Bryce Canyon 50-miler in Utah. I have Eiger, which I'm really excited about, UTMB of Switzerland in July, and Chicago in October.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That's a cool year ahead.
It's a nice year.
Need to get my legs back in shape after WMC, but I'm getting there.
Dude,
Kilgore, can you marry your? Yeah.
On my end, dude, this is it's official, dude. I'm out. I'm out of the running game. So now, no, I'm just kidding.
You retire on the show? What a great way to go.
No, man, I got next one up. I'm doing an OSR race, so Orchard Street Runners race, like here locally in the city. It's like a 30-mile, and that's late March, which would be a fun one. And then going out to MDS, so Marathon Sob, in late April, take on that challenge. I don't know if I could swing it, dude. I know Breakneck is like right after that. I was like thinking about trying to throw my hat in the ring there, but I also have Wings for Life the following day, so I was like, this might be really, really tight.
I think.
And then after that, yeah. And then after that, just kind of rolling through the summer. I'll probably hit some Golden Trail Series stuff. I think I'll crew at Western States, and then going into I'll do UTMB in late August. And then New York City Marathon, probably beginning of November.
And the full plate at UTMB?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Nice. I think it's like the 20th anniversary I saw just today or something.
Yeah, I think so. It's something like that.
Yeah.
So Ice Empress, thanks for being on with us as well. Thanks. Great stories of amazing accomplishments. Love Wardian's retelling when he thought he couldn't get any better than that, and it did. And good luck with the upcoming endeavors.
Thank you.
Sayard Tanis.
Thanks so much.
She is a coach. She is a coach out of Pennsylvania. Ice Empress coaching. Sayard Tanis, check her out. Mountain runner as well. So to the three of you, thank you so much for taking some of your time tonight. Congrats for Deidre and David on the adventure this year. Michael, and your wins in the past, and you all have some pretty awesome things on deck this year. So maybe we can reconnect. And Deidre, I'll be out of Boston as well, so I know I can't imagine we would cross paths, but in all of it. But
never know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm hoping to be there also. So I'm just trying to get a bib right now. So I'm probably going to end up pacing.
You can maybe just take mine, and then that's fine, and then we'll call it good with my time being maybe.
I think that gets us disqualified for like life or something.
Yeah. All right. I can grow a beard though. We'll talk about it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all very much, and I look forward to connecting with you all another time.
All right.
Thanks,
cool,
Ian.
guys.
Thanks, everyone. Great.
Bye, guys.
All right. All right. So thanks all. Again, I was going to go a little bit longer with Kilgore tonight, but I will have fun on another dedicated session where I can go longer with him in dedicated fashion. He does a lot of things in the trail, ultra, and organizing space. So it'd be fun to go long. For all those who joined us in person, or not in person, live, and for those after, thank you so much. I'm not sure what next episode is going to bring next week. I am headed for Seattle and Whistler the end of this week and this weekend. Hopefully that'll be a really good trip, and I'll figure it out as I'm traveling. All right. So until then, see ya.